Did anyone else pause at any point during the show and let out like a Doctor Who sized what? Because I did several times. And, I didn't go into this expecting prestige HBO television. I knew we'd be getting fun trash, rich people and their secrets. And of course, Nicole Kidman as a budget Victoria Grayson. I loved the irony of all of it because it looked pretty tacky, even though these people are supposed to be old money rich. More on the money issues in a bit. Anyway, I love a mess, so I guess I got what I wanted. But also, once again, there was no budget for Nicole Kidman's wig, and we're all the poorer for it. It looked so parched, I could not keep my eyes off of it. And I've always had a soft spot for Nicole Kidman, and she's a beautiful and stylish woman, but she does not have a single blemish, wrinkle, or imperfection on her face, to the point where she looks a little bit airbrushed. And I think it's more jarring because Liev Schreiber is her husband on the show, and he has that silver fox ruggedness, and he more or less looks his age. So yeah, it was a lot. I will say that it was marginally better than that movie that she did with Zac Efron. It's just that this time we had to sit with this for 6 hours because there are 6 episodes for some reason. Anyway, I have work in the morning, so onto the summary. Benji and Amelia are getting married, and it's their engagement party in the wealthy enclaves of Nantucket, which is in Massachusetts, I read. It reminds me a lot of the Hamptons, or what we see of it in movies and TV shows anyway, with homes that have their own little streets, and these homes have been in families for generations. One such family, the Winberries. The old money comes from Tag Winberry, the husband, but it's his wife, writer and socialite Greer, who keeps them relevant as this perfect couple, having been married for 20 years and still very much in love. I was immediately suspicious of this marriage because they do seem happy, but we all know that rich couples in fiction never really are. Still, Tag is kind of likable. He treats his staff well, and he seems like a man who's got it made. A man of leisure. I don't know what he does. He plays golf, he sails. Seems a little bored, to be fair. And Greer mostly takes care of things. Anyway, Amelia is going to be marrying into this family, and she's marrying one of the 3 sons, and his name is Benji. Amelia's best friend Merritt is also there for the festivities. She's the maid of honor, as well as Isabel, this mysterious French woman who's supposedly a friend of the family's, and she claims that she had at least one sexual encounter with Tag. The next morning, the morning after the engagement party, Police Chief Carter gets a call about a body in the water. When he goes to tell his teenage daughter Chloe, she rushes to hide a bloody shirt, and she looks very anxious. Another cop, Detective Henry, comes to the scene, sent by the DA, and she's, very grumpy and sarcastic, a little disheveled, the type. The family and others, like the wedding planner, are all brought to the station for questioning because, this body was found on the family's property. The water is on their property. Obviously, one of the people questioned is the bride-to-be, Amelia, and she's in her wedding dress. She's in tears, traumatized, barefoot, and it's as though she knows something or she found something. We obviously find out that it's her best friend Merritt whose body was in the water. Amelia and her soon-to-be mother-in-law Greer don't get along very well. They're not openly hostile towards one another, but Greer finds Amelia a bit exasperating. On the morning of their engagement party, Amelia finds a ladybug on her pillow, and much to Greer's shock, she just comes out in her bra and pajama pants to let the bug out. And, there's vendors, there are guests, there's staff preparing for the wedding. I mean, on the one hand, it's just a bra, it's harmless, but at the same time, it's not her home and she's just walking around like this. But Amelia is kind of, I wouldn't say ditzy, but it just doesn't occur to her. And Greer seems a little bit offended because she did organize her dressing gown. Greer realizes that Tag bought an $18,000 bracelet for somebody. She finds the receipt, and it certainly wasn't for her. So, as we probably all guessed, he's having an affair, and he has some really expensive taste. So, lucky mistress, at least. Benji asks his mom to try a little bit harder with Amelia. Amelia is the cool girl, the quirky girl, and she has jokes, which is fine and everything. I love that she loves animals and she seems nice, but I think I'm showing my age here because I thought that she could have made a little bit more effort, come on. And I didn't find Greer to be that unreasonable. At one point, Benji tells Greer, like, oh, do you know this one thing about Amelia? And Greer's like, well, no, because she never participates and she doesn't talk. I don't know if we were supposed to relate to Amelia, but I couldn't at all. I actually more related to Greer when it came to their interactions with each other. Anyway, Greer has a book coming out, and when she's on the phone with her agent or manager, I'm once again floored by how bad this Barbie doll straw wig is. I mean, she's Satine, for Christ's sake. Somebody fix it. There is a sweet moment when Tag and Amelia go to pick up her parents at the ferry, and he tells Amelia about CBD gummies that could help with her mom's pain because she has cancer. And he says that they helped with his dad's prostate cancer. By the way, Amelia's parents are kind of like country bumpkins a bit. Somehow they're even less relatable and more bizarre than the Winberries. They're just odd. It also seems like baby brother Will has a crush on Merritt. He's also a bit of a strange kid. More on that in a bit. So maybe again, predictably, because this movie was cobbled together using AI prompts and an assortment of tweets, the douche bro one, Thomas, is out of money. He spent it on some crypto thing and he asks his father, Tag, for a loan. And he needs this money because Dakota Fanning, Abby, really wants an apartment and he must buy it for her. So he's really stressed. These two, by the way, in their marriage can barely conceal their contempt for one another, but they really do both deserve each other. They're pretty terrible people. Amelia confides in Merritt that she doesn't feel desperately in love with Benji. She does love him and she realizes how lucky she is because he's kind and he's a really good guy, but it's not an all-consuming, passionate love. It's not an addiction and she feels like maybe it should be. Merritt tells her that it's just cold feet and she consoles her, but she still checks in with Amelia to make sure that she's okay. Amelia does seem to be having some doubts, but she shoves them away for now. Also, Merritt quite early on clocks Abby as being shady. You see, Abby doesn't see Amelia as a threat because Amelia is a bit of an outsider in those circles and she doesn't want to fit in or impress anybody, especially not Greer. Merritt, however, without even trying, does fit into the wealthier set, and not by being the mean girl either. She's just pretty and she's bubbly and she's a good friend, and she seems like a good and decent person as well. She's exactly the type that Abby would see as a threat. Benji paints a beautiful picture for Amelia, and he's so eager to please. Shame, he's so cute. He adores her, and he's very nerdy and sweet, but on Amelia's part, it's just not quite there. Anyway, at the end of the first episode, we find out that Amelia was the one who found Merritt's body at the lake. In episode 2, we see that the best friends, Amelia and Merritt, had an altercation the night before her death, or the night of her death, rather. Amelia was angry at Merritt for keeping this big secret from her, and it turns out that the diamond bracelet that Tag bought was for Merritt. I know. We also have another, mostly pointless, but he's kind of important, I guess, person involved in this web. He's a friend of the boys and his name is Shooter. He's going to be Benji's best man. He looks a little bit suspicious, making a secretive call, and he takes his passport out of the drawer, all sneaky like. Something's afoot there. So the two detectives are just discussing the case at the bar, like out in the open, which is wild. And the lady detective gets a call saying that Shooter's prints are on Merritt's phone and the police intercept him trying to get on the ferry to get off the island to leave Nantucket. Thomas is having an affair with Isabel, the mysterious French lady, and he seems to be in love with her. And he says that he wants to tell Abby eventually, but she's like, no, we're just lovers. That's all. Baby brother Will has a bandaged cut on his hand and he's looking very squirmy. So is Abby. Everybody's looking suspicious. Well, I mean, that's what they want us to think. Speaking of Abby, she's a very strange one. She's very, very smug and snobby, and she clearly looks up to Greer a little, who married well and who runs the show. Abby's a little unpolished though. I don't know if she's meant to come off as rich, but she really doesn't. She comes across as a social climber, but she does fit in well enough because she's very catty, but unlike Greer, she lays it on pretty thick. Also, at one point we see Abby pinch one of the gifts that was meant for Amelia. It looks like an Hermes box. And I know that wealthy women also have sticky fingers and they like nice things, but I thought that she would have found this quite tacky. But at the same time, I also think that this is the point of her character, like kind of revealing herself in a way. We'll also see in episode 3 that Greer just tolerates Abby, but for the lack of a better term, I feel like Abby gives her the ick because she sucks up a little bit too much, and Abby doesn't respect that. Also, Greer doesn't look down on Amelia because she's not rich, but because she sees that Benji deserves somebody who really loves him and is committed, and even Amelia would admit that, she's a bit on Benji, and Greer senses that. Like, he's doing a lot of the heavy lifting because he loves her so much and he makes all the effort, and she's, she loves him, but she's just more there. Tag asks Amelia if he can talk to her in his study, and they both know about the affair, the Merritt affair, but they don't want to say it out in the open to one another, but they signal it to each other. I don't know, it doesn't seem as though Tag is particularly threatening to me, so I guess this isn't what the scene was meant to be. He was just kind of scoping out whether his secret was safe, I guess. I don't know. Amelia goes to the police station then and she reveals the affair, and she also says that Merritt was pregnant. This gives Tag motive if he knew and he wanted to protect his family image, although he's too laid back to really kill anybody, so I don't think so. At the end of the episode, we see that Greer saw the diamond bracelet on Merritt's hand, which also gives her motive. She's calculating enough, but the method seems a little bit messy for her. I don't see her going out to the beach to drown somebody. Nah, that would be too obvious as a crime scene, and she's too organized. Plus, it's her property. She wouldn't want the negative press. Anyway, as of episode 2, the killer remains at large. In episode 3, this show doesn't know whose story it wants to tell. I guess they did this to have several red herrings, but there's so much going on. Why does every character need a big backstory? It's just too much. Anyway, we see how Merritt and Tag got together in the first place. There was a summer party at the manor a year prior, and they bumped into each other on the beach. They connect, but it's nothing to be suspicious about, not yet anyway. Amelia does see them as well, like talking, but even she sees Merritt walk away after their short encounter, and nothing else comes of it. In the present day, Amelia goes snooping around Tag's office, and Greer catches her and tells her if she wants something she should just ask, and she warns her not to go into Tag's office again. Baby brother Will goes over to Chloe's house, the chief's daughter, remember, and he climbs into her window of her bedroom, and he tries to get her to keep some secret, but the chief catches them. It turns out that these two hung out before, and when they were hanging out, Will saw Merritt and he went to her. It's the night of Merritt's death when Chloe and Will were hanging out, which might have something to do with the bloody shirt, remember, that she had. Anyway, here's another storyline, oh my god, about Will's French tutor who disappeared years ago. Abby spills this to Amelia like it's some kind of salacious mystery. So Amelia goes to ask Benji, and he's like, well, she disappeared. It's no big deal. I hate the show. Why do they keep on giving us nonsense storylines that mean nothing? Anyway, Tag is also pretty much done with this life, he says. The perfect couple, the interviews. He just wants to run away with Greer, and he even suggests it. He wants to escape the stage-managed life, but she just wants him to get ready because they're having a family photograph and an interview today with People magazine or something. People are flying in from London and New York. Turns out that Benji also knew what was going on between his dad and Merritt, and he called Merritt the night of her death, asking her to keep things quiet because otherwise it would just destroy Amelia, or just to keep it quiet for now. The family has a dinner, which is very bizarre, like a budget version of Bore on the Floor. Anyway, Greer, she's writing a lot of books these days, and she says sometimes she's churning out books like Doritos, because she's writing and publishing so many of them. And Tag says, well, people love Doritos. Then Amelia's mom pipes up and says, well, she used to love Doritos back when she could still taste. And remember, she has cancer, so I'm guessing that's taken away her taste buds. I know, please just bear with me. While everybody's talking about chips, Amelia suddenly asks why Greer wants people to sign NDAs. Why does she ask that? And also, she asks, what happened to Will's old tutor who mysteriously disappeared? I mean, we're supposed to be on Amelia's side here because we want to hear all the secrets being spilled, but she's so rude and annoying. Ugh. Anyway, Thomas reveals that Tag was sleeping with the French tutor and they had to pay her off, and that's why she disappeared. After finding this out, Will, baby brother, has a meltdown and he runs out to the boat upset because he thought that the French tutor left without saying goodbye because it was his fault, and that really messed him up. He ends up taking the boat out that night, even though Chloe tells him not to. He's very dramatic, and she goes with him on the boat. Anyway, the whole family is searching for baby brother Will, and Amelia also goes out looking for him, and she finds on the beach Merritt's bracelet, and she takes it to the police, and she says that Will had it. It was among his things. In episode 4, it turns out that Amelia has a secret herself. She and Shooter were the first two to arrive at the house back in the day when she was dating Benji. This is how the two first met. And at the time, Benji was held up at work and he'd be coming later. So the two of them, Amelia and Shooter, get to know each other, they connect, and there's obvious vibes there between them. It's freezing apparently, and he just goes for a spontaneous swim in his underwear and she joins in. It's all fun and games and nothing happens, but I mean, you're with your boyfriend's best friend alone, frolicking about in your underwear. It's not a good look. So baby brother Will knew about the affair between Tag and Merritt as well. I think all of Nantucket knows about this affair at this point. Anyway, he tells Merritt that Tag would never leave Greer, but that he's going to get his trust fund soon and he's going to help her out. Merritt, who's upset, drops her bracelet in the sand, and Will says that he picked it up for her and he meant to keep it and give it back to her later, which explains why it was in his possession. Back to Shooter and Amelia back when they met, he realizes, or he has a feeling anyway, that he recognizes her from somewhere. They're also getting very cozy while they wait for Benji to arrive. When Merritt was still alive, Greer did confront her and warned her that whatever Tag had promised her was a lie. Abby takes pleasure in Greer kind of talking down to Merritt, and she makes a mean comment, but it doesn't really get her into Greer's good graces. There's also a scene, I don't even know if I should explain it, but it's in the present day, and Thomas and Benji get into an actual fight because Thomas and Abby want to eat the wedding cake. It's nonsense. I shouldn't have even mentioned it, but I digress. I kind of feel sorry for Tag. He wants to talk to Greer, but she's not interested. She has a book coming out and she has no time. It's very clear that he loves her, I mean, in his way. But I'm guessing that the French tutor wasn't the first affair, so he's by no means a victim here. It could be that it was because of his affairs that Greer just threw herself into her work. But of course we wouldn't know that because the movie doesn't tell us anything really. Greer also, I don't know, to kind of get her husband back, gives the receipt of the diamond bracelet to Chief Carter. I don't know if she thinks that he killed Merritt or she just wanted him to pay a little bit for the affair and for humiliating her. I don't know. I have a hard time thinking that Greer thinks that he's capable of killing. Anyway, she's made sure that her husband is now going to definitely get the attention of the police. We also get this scene, which I'm going to present without comment. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Shooter is very mysterious and hot, so I'm not complaining or anything, but oh my God, it's so obvious. Anyway, Amelia later goes to his guest house and she's all, you know what, in another world, maybe you and I could have been something, you know, star-crossed lovers or whatever. He's like, if you don't love me, tell me and I'll leave you alone. And they kiss passionately, obviously, unable to fight the sparks. And I guess because we need another layer of story, this is an affair now, I don't know. Benji walks in then and catches them. Poor Benji. In episode 5, Greer obviously knows that Amelia and Shooter kissed. She politely tells Amelia that she still needs to suck it up and come to her book launch because she, Greer, doesn't want any questions and any potential bad press. With Greer, the show must go on. Tag, meanwhile, is at the police station. The sad, hot, messy man that he is. We get a memory of him then and Merritt. They genuinely have a nice connection and she tells him about her pregnancy. At first, he looks thrilled and really romantic about it. He tells her that it's beautiful and he kisses her. Then he says he needs to go back to the house. Later in the evening, she asks him, you know, what's going on here? Like, she wants him to be honest about where she stands. And he starts to get cold feet. I think he's had it all along. And she gets the sense that he wants her to terminate the pregnancy. Abby takes Amelia under her wing a little bit. It feels vaguely like it's a means to have a bit of a minion in a way. She likes to be the one to show the new girl around and, you know, show her just how much she knows. She reveals that Shooter is actually really rich, like bodyguards at university rich. I mean, I also get the sense that Abby just is very pleased with herself and she likes to hear herself talk, and so yeah, she took Amelia along. The detectives are still detaining Tag for questioning, and I mean, they're so useless. They can't even see that this man barely has any energy. He's not going to make the effort to kill anybody. Anyway, after giving them the run around for a bit, he gives them his smartwatch and his phone because they track all of his movements and his breathing patterns and whatnot. He ends up crashing Greer's book launch. He's wasted out of his mind and he gets up on stage, he sings, he falls over. Greer and her terrible Barbie wig are appalled. Yeah, obviously this moment goes viral and the illusion of their perfect marriage is kind of shattered. Also wasted at this party is Benji after finding out that his wife-to-be was making out with his best friend and best man. Amelia tries to get him to sober up and afterwards they have sex. She then goes to talk to Shooter and she tells him that she had sex with Benji at the party, as in like she had sex with her fiance. She also says that because he's rich and he hid it from her, he's like the rest of them and it's for the best that they don't pursue a relationship. And in any case, she's just as bad as the rest of them because, you know, she's kind of been back and forth with the two men anyway. She admits that herself. There's also another useless side plot and I'm just going to give you the TLDR version of it. Greer's mysterious brother has $300,000 in gambling debt because he works for the mafia. Yes, Greer needs to pay off this debt for some reason, and so she gets a loan from Shooter to pay off her brother's debt. Look, I don't know what to tell you. This is the story that we got. Anyway. Oh, and by the way, it's not just any mafia, it's the Turkish mafia that he works for. Anyway, Greer is kind of half flirting with the chief in the bar, maybe. I couldn't get a handle on this scene, or maybe she's just bored and she seems like a cat who's playing with their food. He gets her a dark and stormy cocktail and she says that it's good. And I do not believe for a single moment that this woman likes dark rum and ginger ale, please, of all the drinks. In the final episode for season 1, thank goodness, we find out that Merritt had drugs in her system, but she wasn't a user, so this is very strange. Amelia calls Shooter after breaking things off and she says she doesn't know who she is anymore. And they say goodbye, but I don't know, maybe the door was a little ajar, I think. I don't know. Another TLDR storyline, because I'm getting cross now. I don't have time to explain the whole thing. Amelia's mother is panicking because she can't find one of her euthanasia pills. It turns out the killer took one of them and drugged Merritt with it. And intervention is also staged for Tag and, you know, he's going to need to go into treatment for his drinking. I don't know if it's really for his wellness or if this is just a PR exercise to show that, you know, he's doing better. I think it's more the latter. Anyway, about the pills, that's not the worst part. The mom, Amelia's mom, brought the pills with her to the freaking wedding in case, she says, things got really bad for her. And what then, Amelia's mom? Are you going to take them at the wedding? I mean, she said it was a security blanket, but I mean, really? She wasn't bedbound in hospice, and I think she would have survived for one wedding day. But anyway, Greer finally has her big meltdown at the end of the episode, and she introduces her mysterious secret brother to the rest of her family. They didn't know that he existed. She also reveals that she was an escort and her brother organized dates for her. Not only that, and wait for it, Tag was one of her Johns. And he's like, I didn't pay though. And Greer's like, you paid 3 times. That's how we met. Anyway, she's really purging herself of her secrets, and it looks pretty cathartic, really. She says she's done living a lie and she's done cleaning up everybody's messes, and she will take questions as well if they have any for her. In the end, we find out that Abby was the one who killed Merritt. You see, the thing was that the youngest Wilbury's son had to turn 18 for the inheritance to be released. This is very threatening to Abby, who wants her life and she wants her apartment, so she drugs Merritt, drowns her, and kills her. Right at the end, Abby goes to jail and Greer goes to the city to find Amelia, and she finds her working at the zoo with some animals. And she tells Amelia that, you know, she was actually kind of a little bit jealous of how free Amelia was. And she's also written a manuscript, and it's about Amelia, like for her new book. And she would like Amelia's blessing. She also says to Amelia that she would love to see her and hopefully they can meet up for coffee or something. And that's it. That's the show. Anyway, if you have seen it,